Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Alice Hochhausler. In 1966, Alice Hochhausler was so concerned about so many recent reports of attacks on and rapes of women that she was regularly giving her daughter, a nurse, a ride home from work. Even if it was late at night, she didn't want her daughter walking or taking the bus. Alice was a mother of 9 children. Her husband, Carl J. Hochhausler, was a local doctor. On October 12, 1966, as her husband sleepily watched TV, Alice left the house around 11 p.m. to go pick up her daughter, Beth. Alice was in her pajamas and robe. It was dark out already, so no one would see her clothing. She wasn't getting out of the car anyway. She was just picking up her daughter. Alice picked her daughter, Beth, up at Good Samaritan Hospital in Cincinnati. The two noticed a car that seemed to be following them too closely. As Alice pulled over at Beth's apartment, the car pulled up behind them. Then it pulled around them and seemingly left. Alice watched her daughter enter her apartment safely and then continued home. Was that same suspicious car following Alice in the dark? As Alice got out of her car at home and headed inside, someone hit her on the head. They strangled her with the belt of her bathrobe and raped her. Her husband found her on the driveway in the morning after waking up and realizing that Alice had never come to bed. I think that this is the same rapist and murderer of Marianne Wells and Sylvia Jones. I think that man is Eugene William Gall, Jr. Gall had been dishonorably discharged from the military after his arrest for being a peeping Tom, quote-unquote, in Virginia in July of 1964. Sorry, I think that was actually North Carolina. They sent him to a facility for a time before his discharge. This seems like more than just peeping. I think there might be more to that story. He returned home then to Hillsboro, Ohio, to his parents' home. Hillsboro is a town to the east of Cincinnati, and it's not far at all. It's a quick drive into Cincinnati. Back to Eugene William Gall, Jr. On December 15th, 1970, just 4 years after this incident with this murder of Alice Hochhausler, on December 15th, 1970, Gall was arrested for a series of rapes around Lima, Ohio. Lima is just a little bit north of Cincinnati, and it's a little bit south of Dayton. He lived in Middletown, Ohio then, which is a little bit north of Cincinnati. But all of these towns are pretty close together. It's a quick drive. He was convicted of 8 counts, including rape, kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, and armed robbery. He was sentenced from 10 to 30 years, but inexplicably was let out by April 12, 1977. He was next arrested in 1978 for the murder of Lisa Jansen. He abducted her off the street in Cincinnati in April of 1978 and drove to Kentucky, where he raped and murdered her. He then committed an armed robbery and got in a shootout with police. Gall shot and killed a police officer there. He is serving life in prison for those murders and the 1977 October abduction, rape, and murder of Beth Ann Moat from Dayton. So, from his discharge from the Army back in 1964 to December 15th, 1970, what else did he do? What was he up to? Also, for that matter, what was he up to from April 12th, 1977 until his arrest in Kentucky on April 5th, 1978? I think he's responsible for the series of 1965 and 1966 Cincinnati rapes and murders that include Emma Jean Harrington, Rose Winstall, Lois Dant, and Jeanette Messer. as well as Marion Wells, Sylvia Jones, and Alice Hochhausler, which is our subject for today. I think if there's any evidence to test in any of those cases, I really think that they should look at gall. There is no such thing as a part-time serial rapist and serial murderer. It's just not a thing. That's all they think about. That's all they want to do. And I think Eugene William Gall Jr. I think that was what he was all about. I think there are many more crimes that he committed. There's no such thing, as I said, as a part-time serial killer. It's all they think about. It's their sole focus. Jobs and relationships are just a means to hide in plain sight in order to keep killing. He drove around a lot. I think armed robbery was one way that he financed his criminal habit. As we saw in his 1970 and 1978 convictions, armed robbery was not a thing he was unfamiliar with. He was convicted in both those instances of armed robbery. I think authorities should look at any cold case, armed robbery, murders that fit in his timeline. Gas station attendants that were robbed and murdered, store clerks that were robbed and murdered. I think that's a thing they should definitely look at. In a 1978 article, his mother mentions that he drove older people to doctor's appointments, and she mentions this in a way to talk about the good qualities of her son. Sylvia Jones and Marion Wells lived fairly close to Good Samaritan Hospital in Cincinnati. Imagine that Gall has dropped off his elderly patient very early for lab tests or a long session of dialysis or something like that. And then Gall just goes for a walk around the neighborhoods. Both Marion Wells and Sylvia Jones were killed in the morning hours. Imagine him just driving around Cincinnati that night, sitting and watching the hospital shift change, the night that Beth Hochhausler was picked up by her mother, Alice Hochhausler. He sees Beth get picked up by her mom. He figures out that her mom is driving young Beth home out of a concern for her safety. He hits upon the idea of attacking Alice, the mother. Maybe he's thinking that it will be ironic. Maybe that amuses him. If it was Eugene William Gall Jr., it probably still amuses him to this day. If you have information about the murder of Alice Hochhausler, please submit a tip to the Ohio Attorney General's office. They have a website. If you Google Unsolved Murders Ohio, the website will come up. I'll also post in the comments of this video, I'll post the live link so you can use the link here. But Alice and her family, they deserve justice. I mean, this was a devoted mother of 9 children, and she was just trying to protect her daughter, Beth, that night. Rest in peace, Alice Hochhausler.